सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये। चैतन्यं सर्वगं सर्वं सर्वभूतगुहाशयं यत्सर्वविषयातीतं तस्मै सर्वविदे नमः। आलोकस्थो घटो यद्वत् बुद्ध्यारूढो भवेत् तथा धीव्याप्तिः स्यात् घटारोहः धियो व्याप्तौ क्रमो भवेत्। पूर्वं स्यात् प्रत्ययव्याप्तिः ततोऽनुग्रह आत्मनः कृत्स्नाद्यक्षस्य नो युक्तः कालाकाशादिवत्क्रमः। विषयग्रहणं यस्य कारणापेक्षया भवेत् सत्येव ग्राह्यशेषे च परिणामी सचित्तवत्। So the teacher is explaining the fundamental way the perception takes place. Alokastho ghato yadvat. This ghata or a part which is placed in the sunlight, meaning illumined by sunlight. Alokastha. Buddhyarudo bhavet. That ghata, buddhyaruda, becomes the object of buddhi, meaning that buddhi or intellect or mind takes the form of that ghata. Tatha dhi vyaptihi syad ghataroha. So what is ghataroha? Dhi vyaptihi. That dhi or the mind pervades the part is called the climbing or mounting the part. Aroha means mounting. So says the Tika, mounting is not like a man mounting on a horse. It is just pervading and taking the form of that object. Dhiyo vyaptau krama bhave. Thus, in case of buddhi, there is a krama or a sequence that first the part is illumined by the sunlight and then the buddhi contacts that part, takes the form of the part, and that's how the part is illumined when the buddhi pervades that. So what's the krama? There is a sequence here. Purvam syat pratyavyapti tato anugrahatmanah. First takes place pratyavyapti. First is that The buddhi or the mind pervades the ghata and with the ghatakara vritti. Tatah atmanugraha. Then Atma's favor comes, that Atma gets reflected in the buddhi, which is what we call chidabhasa. So that's how the buddhi becomes enlivened. And thus it is said that the buddhi, when takes the form of ghara, it removes the avaran. And when the reflected consciousness illumines the ghata, so that is called the illumination of ghata. Thus the perception of an object such as a pot is visualized to be in two stages. In the first stage, the avaranam or the ignorance is removed. The second stage, the object is illumined. The avarana is removed by the mind, by the buddhi, when it takes the form of the object, and the object such as ghata is illumined by the consciousness which is reflected in that ghatakara vritti. So thus there is a krama, sequence as far as buddhi is concerned. Krishna dakshasno yukta kalakashadivat krama. Buddhi also is adhyaksha, but only of the part. Buddhi is adhyaksha of a given object at a given time. Therefore, buddhi requires, there is a krama. Buddhi is not always adhyaksha. Only in a particular situation, buddhi becomes adhyaksha. When the buddhi takes the form of that object, such as ghata, and then the ghata is illumined by the chidabhasa, that buddhi acquires a state of illumining the ghata or adhyaksha of the ghata. Rupam drishyam, lochanam druk, tad drishyam, drukta manasam, drishyadhivritta sakshi, tadeva sade sakshi, drugeva drishyate. So as far as the Krishna adhyaksha, so buddhi is adhyaksha only of one object at a time. Buddhi also is adhyaksha in a way, but it witnesses only one object at a time, the object that it illumines. Krishna adhyakshasya, consciousness is self-illuminating. Buddhi is not self-illuminating, therefore buddhi requires the reflection of consciousness to become illumined, and then illumine an object such as ghata. But adhyaksha, or the consciousness, is always illumined, therefore it illumines everything. So ideally we should know everything simultaneously. But no, we know only when the buddhi takes the form of that object. Therefore, we know one object at a time that the buddhi reveals. But adhyaksha is always available because even just as sunlight has illumined the ghata, consciousness already illumined ghata and everything. Consciousness always illumined everything. Then sunlight illumines, and then buddhi illumines that particular object. Sunlight is brought in because of the eyes, perception by eyes. That sahakari karanam is required, but otherwise, for a blind person, he can still see the pot without the need of the sunlight, and still the buddhi requires to take the form of the ghata. So the reason is explained, Vishaya Grahanam Yasya Karanapekshaya Bhavet. So the buddhi or the jnata, the Vishaya Grahanam, the perception of the Vishaya, the object such as ghata, Karana Apekshaya Bhavet. It requires other accessories, should have been Karaka, Karana or Karana. Kartradi Karaka Apekshaya. So, in case of the buddhi, the duality is there of the knower known. Therefore, in case of buddhi, Karaka, Kartra, the knower must be there. Eyes, means of knowing must be there. Vyapti, the perception, pervading by the buddhi must be there. All these things are required for the perception to take place in the mind. Satyev grahya sheshecha. Because buddhi, when it perceives the pata, then rest of the objects are unperceived. Grahya shesha means what is not perceived remains for buddhi. Parinami sachittavata. So wherever, in buddhi or in anything, where things are not illumined simultaneously, then that illuminator must take the form of the object, chittavat parinami. Just as chitta has to take the form of the object such as a part, so also anything that is like that, where grahya shesha, because chitta can perceive one thing at a time, so that's the rule for anything where after perception things remain to be perceived, then that thing must take the form of the object. Now continuing the verse 159, यद्यपि तस्य उक्तरीत्या भोग्य विषयका परिणामो नास्ति. All right, meaning that the consciousness does not undergo any change, any parinama, any transformation when it comes to the perception of the objects of the world, perception of anatma. The buddhi does not need to undergo any change. Consciousness does not need to undergo any change. Tathapi, but now we come to a unique object. Brahma jnana karana parinama syat. But then consciousness also, when it illumines the self, so buddhi takes the form of atma, brahma jnana karana. All transformations take place in buddhi. So when the buddhi takes the form of Brahman, that has to happen just as ghatakara has to happen, and the avarana of ghata should be removed, so also brahmakara should happen for avarana of Brahma to go. The next step of illuminating the object is not required in case of Brahman because it is self-illumined. So vritti vyapti is there, phala vyapti is not there technically. But in any case, buddhi, when it takes the form, aham brahmasmi, doesn't the transformation happen in consciousness also? Brahmana svatmatve sati api tadakara avabhasasya agantuka jnana sapekshatvat. So Brahman is Atma. But buddhi normally is ghata patakara. When buddhi takes the form of Atma or Brahma, some change has happened. That's called Brahma jnana akarana parinama syat. When buddhi becomes transformed or changed as the Brahmakara. Brahmana svatvatme satyapi, even though Brahman is Svatma. Tadakar avabhasasya agantuka jnana sapekshatvat. So now consciousness illumines the Brahmakara vritti. And Brahmakara is agantuka. So far those Vishakara, Anatmakara, Buddhi now has taken Brahmakara. That change has happened and now consciousness illumines that. Then is it not that the change takes place in consciousness also? Agantuka jnana sapekshatvat. So buddhi's jnanam is agantukam. Ghatakara, patakara, even Brahmakara. So Brahmakara is agantuka jnanam is only incidental knowledge which has taken place because certain conditions are satisfied. Then consciousness that illumines that will also not undergo some change. And so the next verse is Adyaksho hamiti jnanam buddhereva vinischaya na adyaksasya visheshatvad nutasya paro yatah. Adyakshoham, I am consciousness, iti vinashya buddheva. That vinashya, that conviction has arisen in the buddhi that I am consciousness. Nadhyakshasya. That conviction doesn't belong to consciousness, that conviction belongs to buddhi. With until now thought that I am the body, I am the mind, now the buddhi now sees I am consciousness. Consciousness eliminates whatever form the buddhi takes. Avisheshatvat. So understand that no vishesha or change happens in consciousness, whether consciousness eliminates brahmakara vritti or ghatakara vritti. The illuminated consciousness does not undergo any change regardless of what change happens in the buddhi. And therefore that is ultimate sakshi. Drugeva natu dushyate na tasyasti paro yatah. So, drishya dhivritta sakshi drugeva natu dushyate. So even Brahmakar Vritti also is Dushya or element. Eliminator is the Druk or the Buddhi, Natu Dushyate is self-element. So Tikakar explains it in little, because it's a very important thing, it explains it in detail. Tattvasyadi vakyat adhyaksha paramatmayamiti yajnanam jayate. Tattvasyadi vakya, that you are Brahman, you are Adhyaksha. Adhyakshoham, I am witness. And there is Paramatma. The Adhyaksha I am, Paramatma I am, iti yajnanam jayate. So that knowledge arises as a result of Tattvamasi Mahavakya, that the teacher makes me see. That the whole idea is that. By the Upadesh of the Mahavakya, the teacher makes me see that, hey, you are Adhyaksha regardless of what changes take place in Buddhi. And all identifications are the Buddhi. That you are a body, you are mind, etc. is all the modifications of Buddhi. You are Adhyaksha, the witness, eliminating all those modifications. So Adhyaksha aham Paramatma eva hamiti yad jnanam jayate. So that knowledge, tanna Adhyakshasya sakshana parinamaha. In that knowledge, no parinama, no change takes place in Adhyaksha, in the witness. Meaning that the change takes place in what is witnessed, but no corresponding change takes place in the witness. So formerly witness was eliminating Ghatakara Vritti. Now the witness eliminates Brahmakara Vritti. What is eliminated undergoes change or transformation, but no change or transformation happens in eliminated Adhyaksha. Tasya avisheshatvat. Because for consciousness everything is the same. It's just element. For buddhi is not the same. As the object of elimination change, buddhi changes, but then for consciousness it is to be, that eliminates whatever there is. Tasya avisheshatvat, meaning that when the consciousness eliminates Ghatakar Vritti, and then it eliminates Brahmakar Vritti, that change happens in Vritti, not in consciousness, it eliminates that. Just as all elements are like that, light also doesn't change when the object of elimination changes. Swatah parato va nirvayavasya asangasya vishesha sambhavat. So you will wonder that formerly consciousness was eliminating the dehakara vritti. Now the consciousness eliminates brahmakara vritti. So then, for eliminating the vritti, is it not that the consciousness has to come in contact with the vritti? in that case the vritti changes, so should not some change also happen in the consciousness that is now come in contact with Brahmakar vritti? Consciousness that was in contact with Ghatakar vritti has now come in contact with Brahmakar vritti. So thus the vritti Vishesha, a change or has taken place in vritti. Should a change take place in Brahma or Adhyaksha, which is eliminator? Swatah parato va niravayavasya asangasya vishesha sambhavat. Change can happen in that which is savayavam, which is made up of various parts. So the parts get rearranged, and that is how for example, in case of a pot, the particles of clay have taken a certain form. So those particles can take another form also. Instead of pot, it can be a pitcher. Can take a third, form, because they are parts and therefore they are subject to rearrangement, so it can be called a plate. But consciousness is partless and therefore these changes, transformations cannot take place. Kintu buddheeva savasaya vinishya avastha vishesha. So now that the knowledge takes place, I am Brahman. Formerly I thought I am Anatma, I am Deha. Now knowledge as a result of the Tattvamasi Mahavakya takes place that I am Brahman. It is only a change taking place in my conviction, my buddhi, not an adhyaksha or a witness that illumines that buddhi or that vritti. So it is not the vishesha or change in the consciousness, only the change or modification of buddhi. Ed duktam bhavati, this is explained by the Tikakara. Explaining the whole process of Tattvamasi Mahavakya Upadesha and the knowledge how it takes place. Aneka janmanusthita yajnadikrita adrushta dosha nivritti samskaravatyaha. Buddhi, these are all the adjectives of buddhi. So first buddhi, aneka janmanusthita yajnadikrita. In many lives, Satkarma, Punyakarma, such as Yajnadi, Yajna Dana Tapaha must have been performed or cast over many, many births. Tatkruta Adrishya Dosha Nivritti Samskaravatyaha. So, as those samskaras take place from Satkarma, Yajna, Dana, Tapaha, mainly Nishkam Karma, then that Dosha Nivritti, elimination of the papa or the dosha takes place in buddhi. That we have said a number of times. That sakama karma does not remove dosha. It adds guna. But nishkama karma removes the existing dosha. Therefore, for antahakana shuddhi, nishkama karma is required. So yajna, dana, tapaha, this satkarma also should perform nishkamata. So, yajnadikrita adrushta dosha nivritti samskaravatyaha. Adrushta dosha nivritti, that adrushta samskara, born of the nishkama karma, they remove the dosha. So, dosha nivritti samskaravatyaha. So, from samskara, all doshas are removed. In the buddhi, dosha basically is the self-centeredness. So by deliberately performing the other-centered actions, that this tendency of self-centeredness naturally has to be weakened. So we are creating a new tendency of being contributor rather than being consumer. So that's how dosha nivritti samskaravatyaha buddhe. Buddhi in which the dosha or the self-centeredness that has become, the Buddhists were free from this tendency. Ignorance creates the identification in the body. And that naturally creates a habit or creates sense of inadequacy, insecurity. And therefore I am self-centered because I'm worried, I'm afraid. That is why that nishkama karma requires overcome my natural habitual thinking that I will be at a loss by giving something. My usual conclusion is that I will be at a loss when I give something. So therefore you do it anyway, and then you realize that there is no loss in giving. There may be loss at one level, but gain at the other level. So that vritti, buddhi, saguna brahmopasana, nirakruta chanchalyaya, nirakut chanchalyaya. Then with that antaka shuddhi now, you carry out saguna brahmopasana, meditation or worship of saguna brahma. That is for elimination of chanchalya or restlessness. So antaka shuddhi, purification of mind, and the steadiness of the mind are two separate processes said here. These purification of mind is gained by niskama karma, and steadiness of the mind is gained by engaging the mind in the thought of the deity to maintain that thought. Sampratam viveka vairagya samadhi guna samskritaya. As a result now, the buddhi is samskritaya, has the samskaras or the tendency of samadhi, viveka vairagya samadhi guna samskritaya. So viveka, vairagya, shama, dhamma, they become the nature of buddhi now. So samskara buddhi can be changed. And this is the natural samskara buddhi. Viveka, vairagya, samadhi, sampatti is the nature of the buddhi. Aviveka, etc. was all agantuka, therefore it can be removed. And now you don't need to make an additional effort to retain viveka, vairagya because that is the nature of buddhi. Sampratam viveka, vairagya, samadhi guna samskritaya buddhe. Buddhi now that has now samskaras of the samadhi sampatti. Padarthadvaya, parishodhana, jnana, ahita, dura samskarayascha. That buddhi is now subjected to the teaching or unfoldment of scriptures from the teacher. Padarthadvaya, pada, two pada, tat pada, tvam pada. Padartha, the meaning of the two padas, aham, tvam pada is I, tat pada is Ishvara. Parishodhana. So presently also I have knowledge of who I am and what the nature of Ishvara is. Shodhana meaning that in that the parts of ignorance should be removed. I know that aham asmi, sadabhami, kadachinnaham apriyaha, I know that. But then I take myself of the body, so that is the part that is the product of ignorance. Brahman also asti, Brahman is also limitless, but Brahman is separate from me, paroksham. So that's the part that is born of ignorance. Meaning that even though Atma is known aparokshataya, it is known as parichchinnataya, limited. Even though I know Brahman is aparichchinnam, but I think it is paroksham. So padarthadvaya parishodhana. Then my mind by teaching is made to see that hey, Brahman is not separate from me or I am not the immediate entity. Parishodhana jnana ahita dura samskarayascha. And this is when again and again then that samskara becomes dhrudha. Right now parichandada samskara that I am limited. I am not what I want to be. I am a seeker. Ishvara is different. So those samskaras have to be completely transformed. So padarthadvaya parishodhana jnana. When deliberation is made on the nature of aham, or tat, and tvam, and tat. Samskarayascha. So formerly samskaras are different, now the samskaras are changed completely. Buddhe tattvamasya vakya shravana samanantara shodhita padarthagata sthita. According to this, in fact, you have done this work earlier. But tattvamasya vakya shravana comes later according to this Tikakara. You already know what the meaning of tat is, what the meaning of tvam is. Then that Mahavakya reveals it. So even Upanishad does that also. As in Chandogya Upanishad, there is very elaborate discussion on the tat pada. Sadeva Swami idam agrasit. Tvam pada also, and then the tattvamasi. So tattvamasya vakya shravana shranam anantara sodhita padarthagata kalpita bhedamsa tirodhanena. That bhedamsa, there is bheda between tat and tvam. As I said, because tvam is known as aparuksha but limited, and tat is known as not limited, limitless but paroksha. But that limitation and parokshatvam are all the result of the upadhi. In aham, the limited aspect is the upadhi. In Brahman, the paroksha aspect also is the upadhi. And therefore, padarthagata kalpyata bheda, that bheda isha jivayoho veshadhi bheda, that vesha is taken to be real, and therefore there is this bhidhi or this delusion that Ishvara is separate from me. Bhedamsha tirodhanena. So when that bheda amsha is gone, sat svabhavato vastu kevalam, Ishvara also is sat svabhava, I am also sat svabhava, vastu kevalam, there are not two vastus and not two entities, there is one entity. Akhandakara kachid avastha jayate. An avastha jayate, a state of mind arises when you see that I am Brahma. Akhanda means tat and tvam has no khanda, no division anymore. Tasyam pratibimbitah, pratibimbas sthitah chidatma. Tasyam pratibimbitah chidatma. So now in that aham brahmasmi vritti also, the chidatma that is reflected, tadak vritti avikta karana amit paramrishya. Tadak vritti avivikta akarena. So now vritti avivikta akarena. Viveka means separation, avivikta means non-separation. So aham, I am now the one that has taken the form of this vritti also. So aham iti paramrishya. Formerly the aham was thought to be limited. Now I realize that what is tat itself is aham. So iti paramrishya, that paramarsha takes place. That contemplation takes place. I see that the meaning of the tvam or aham. So first I see the meaning of tat, and then I realize that meaning aham also is same as tat. So that paramarsha takes place, and that's how the identity of the two is realized. This is how the process is described in a standard way. Meaning that you already know the tat pada, then you see that tvam also is there. You know tvam pada, then realize that tat also is there. Tatah viktakarmeva upadhyam shapohena. Also you see that I am different from upadhi. The sense of limitation was due to identifying the upadhi. Or the parokshatvam, separateness of Ishvara also was because of the identity of the upadhi called Maya, samasti and vyasti. But then upadhi means that is incidental. That I am an individual is incidental, that is total also is an incidental, I am limited is incidental, is limitless is also incidental. upadhyam cha apohena. So far I was giving reality to that. Now I realize that the limitedness is not my essential nature, it comes and goes. Parokshatvam or the separateness of Ishvara also is not the essential nature, that also comes and goes. Swameva rupam brahmeti pratipadyate. So upadhi is recognized upadhi when you give up the identification. Swameva rupam brahma, my own nature is Brahman. Iti pratipadyate, this is what he comes to know. So this pratipatti of the knowledge takes place when there is a paramarsha of tat and tvam, and I realize both are the same, that I am same tat. Therefore give up that sense of limitation that has arisen from the identification. Na tasmin kopi vishesha upajayate. The idea is that in consciousness no vishesha. Vishesha happens only in buddhi, in the knowledge. So buddhi keeps on changing the form, and the buddhi and the consciousness eliminates that. Ultimately, when buddhi recognizes that I am Brahman, there also the consciousness is the same. So, iti na tasmin kopi vishesha upajayate iti. Therefore, in that consciousness, no vishesha change happens. Meaning it remains eliminated of the vritti, whatever the vritti is. It eliminates ghatakara vritti or brahmakara vritti, consciousness eliminates. All ignorance, knowledge takes place because of the change in buddhi vritti. न विशेष उपजायते चिदात्मनः परिणाम अभियुगमे परिणामी परिणाचित्तवत् स्वन्यवेद्यत्व नियमात् आत्मनः अपि अन्यः साक्षी कल्प्येत चिदात्मनः परिणाम अभ्युपगमे. If you accept that Chidatma also undergoes a sympathetic change, depending upon the vritti changes, Chidatma also changes, then this means that every witness also is subject to change depending on change that takes place in what is witnessed. So Chitta is witnessed, change takes place in Chitta. If a change takes place in the witness also, then now witness, how do you know the change in witness in another witness? Therefore, Anya Sakshi Kalpeta. Then you have to imagine another witness. But that, if witness changes, that also witness will change. Iti anavasthanat. So you don't come to the end. Every witness changes then. You have not yet come to the changeless. There was the infinite regression they call anavastha. Apramanakatvacha. And so buddhi has not arrived at anything. Therefore there is no conviction has arisen. Therefore, even the Mahavakya has not generated that conviction in you. Because that what shall I say, the transfer of the witnessness keeps taking place. And therefore that Mahavakya does not generate in you this conviction. So apramanakatvacha, then Mahavakya will not be a pramanam. So one is there will be infinite regression as far as the witness is concerned, and that knowledge has not taken place. Therefore, the Mahavakya has not created knowledge. So Mahavakya is not pramanam. Therefore, the teacher said, na tasyasti paroyatah. So, na adhyakshasya avisheshatvat, na tasyasti na adhyakshasya paroyatah. There is no one different from the adhyaksha or witness of adhyaksha. So adhyaksha is the ultimate, because ultimately you come to a witness that is not witnessed. You come to a witness that reveals everything without being revealed, self-revealing. So why not the first witness be like that? So first witness itself is accepted self-revealing. Tasyasti na parahayat. There is no other witness of this witness. This is the final witness. Now comes to a point which was discussed earlier. Yadapi evam antahkanasyeva jnanakara parinamah. Sometimes some repetition takes place in order to complete a topic, So this may have been discussed in a given context. Now in different contexts the same thing is brought in. Yadapi evam antahkaranasyeva jnanakara parinamah. Antahkaram, or the mind alone, takes the form of the object of knowledge, or takes the form aham brahmasmi. Tadapi tasya na jnana phalabhagita. Point is that who becomes liberated, who enjoys the fruits of moksha? Jnana phalam. Jnanam is what? I am liberated. Who says? Buddhi. In buddhi the knowledge takes place. I am liberated. The phala may, but buddhi itself is acetanam, unconscious. So that unconscious thing cannot be liberated. Therefore, the jnana phalam has to come to Atma. Atmaneva iti abhiparitya ahankarto phala sambandha doshamaha. It's not ahankara that becomes liberated. It's Atma. Now, this kind of difference of views are there. As to who is bound and who is liberated. So Jiva is bound and Jiva is liberated. Here it says Atma is bound and Atma is liberated. This point was made earlier also, is made now also. Kartrutva upamardhanena, no sorry, iti abhiparitya phala sambandhe dosham ahankartu. You say that the ahankara, Jiva Atma gets liberated, then there will be this dosha or the defect. So next verse is Kartra chedahamityevam anubhuyeta muktata sukha dukkha vinirmoko sukha dukkha vinirmokaha maham kartari yujyate. Kartra. Which case is that? Third case. So kartra, by karta. Chet ahamidev anubhuyeta. Aham Brahma is anubhuyeta. It may be experienced by the karta. So anubhuyeta muktata. If mukti is of ahankara, karta mein ahankara. Sukha dukkha vinirmoko nahankarta yujyate. Wherever ahankara is there, sukha dukkha is going to be. Therefore, sukha dukkha moksha means vimochan. Vimochan means the freedom or letting go. So therefore, the freedom from sukha dukkha will not happen if ahankara is the one who knows I am Brahma, he is liberated. Because ahankara will always be subject to sukha dukkha. That is the idea. So anyway, we read the tika. Kartra vikarina chet ham muktaheti muktata anubhuyeta. Kartra means by karta, by ahankarta, by ahankara, by the jivatma. Aham muktaheti muktata anubhuyeta. If jivatma experiences the muktata, the liberation, muktoham, I am liberated. Tada naham karta iti kartu upamardhanena. That case, what if karta no more remains? Here the teacher says that if karta comes to know I am Brahman, then karta no more remains. Kartutva upamardhanena sukha dukkha vinirmokaha asambandha tasmin na yujyate. So when karta no more remains, then who is liberated? The entity that was bound should be the entity that is liberated. If as a result of knowledge, the entity that is bound itself disappears, then who is there to be liberated? So karta or ahankarta was bound. Now if ahankarta becomes liberated, ahankarta himself does not remain, meaning that there must be a steady entity, a consistent entity. One who was bound should be the one who is liberated. If ahankarta is accepted as bound, ahankarta is accepted as liberated, after liberation ahankara does not remain, in that case there is no liberated one. So therefore, who is liberated? One who is bound. Therefore, kartu sukhadimatva anuviroda ityartha. So karta always experiences sukhi dukhi aham. Therefore, Atma, the point is that it is Atma who is bound, and this was done earlier, Atma is liberated. See, it's all different stuff, than what we are accustomed to understand. Because karta is no more remains, we say badhita anuvritti is there. So karta is negated, karta does not get destroyed in form. So therefore, badhita, there is a badha of kartrutvam, not nasha of kartrutvam. Therefore, what we call a working ego remains for a wise person also. If ego does not remain, then who will perform the vyavahara? Atma requires the ego to perform the vyavahara. If there is no ego, then Atma becomes ego or whatever. So, says sukhadimatva anubhava virodhat. A wise person also experiences sukha dukkha. And if karta is the one, is no more there, then who will experience that? So, Atma was bound, Atma was liberated. Kartu api kriyayasa tada viliyamanatvat. Along with the kriya, the karta also is gone. If the ignorance goes and the delusion goes, and the karta also goes. Na tasya phala sambandha. Therefore, the entity with no remains cannot have any association with the outcome, moksha. So, a persistent entity only must be bound, and the same entity must be liberated. So, Atma is the persistent entity which was bound and now becomes liberated. Ahankara is only incidental. So ahankara was there as long as ignorance was there. Ahankara is no more when ignorance is not. So moksha cannot belong to ahankara, moksha belongs to Atma. This already came in verses 107, 108. If you look at those verses, here it is page 370. प्रत्ययी प्रत्ययश्चैव यदा वासौ ददर्थता तयोरचिन्मत्तत्वाच्च चैतन्ये कल्प्यते फलम्. Pratyayī and pratyaya. Pratyaya is the cognition or the thought. Pratyayī, one who possesses the thought. Yada avaso, both of them receive the avasa of consciousness. First of all, the mind receives the avasa, and the mind gets modified as a vritti, so that can, not a different avasa, but so whatever be the form of the thought, the consciousness gets reflected. So achitimatvacha, the vritti as well as mind, both of them are achitimat, unconscious. And unconscious cannot have phalam. Chaitanya kalpyate phalam. So this is how, point is that this is the principle, that liberation can only be experienced by a conscious entity and not by something unconscious. Therefore, the mind or ahankara cannot be the recipient of the result of the knowledge. So then they ask the next example, the verse gives an example. How can Kutastha, who is not involved at all? It is always the avidya was in the mind, now vidya is eliminated in the mind of the buddhi. That's why in the buddhi change takes place, Atma is Kutastha, no change has taken place. Then how do you say Atma was born, Atma is liberated? So next verse is Kutasthe Viphalam Yogyam Rajaneva Jayadikam. So just as the king becomes the beneficiary of victory or loss, defeat. In fact, it is the army that either wins the battle or loses the battle, but the king that becomes the beneficiary of win or loss. Tat anatmatva hetubhyam kriyayaha pratyasya cha. Similarly also, because kriya and pratyaya was anatma, therefore atma is said to be the beneficiary of the result of knowledge. Because anatma cannot be there, atma is said to be the beneficiary. So this is how the Kutastha or Atma is said to be the beneficiary of the moksha. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namah. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om.